All right, just got home from the gym, and on our doorstep, I see a package. And I really don't think there's anything that beats finding a package from someone that came to an academy of ours. We've gotten some great gifts so far. All right, let's see box 2. In box 1, the book Tribe of Mentors from Timothy Ferriss. It's already being put to good use. It's holding the phone right now. Since I'm solo and Berkey's in Australia and Christian's in New Jersey. All right. Okay. Oh my God. This thing's sick. Wow. Nick, thank you. Seriously, this is amazing. The thinking, man. Man, this is awesome, Nick.
Have you been let down by the ones before? Do you leave too soon to know? Never fell in love, 'cause I just got loose. But now when it comes to you, dressing in black, you're around for the weekend. Dancing at night, you're the light that I won't let go. And I want you close.
Don't ever start making a vlog. You gotta start setting up shots and
This is the shot.
learn how to be a filmmaker.
We're good for the daylight. I don't always play nice. I'll pick you up at midnight.
Right. Okay, so playing bullet number 2 of the MSPT, just so everyone knows what I'm.
The one you won last year.
Yeah, the one I won last year.
Yeah, over 100,000.
Yeah.
Nice.
Need to do that again.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go through a couple of hands that I had. All right, so the first one was I open ace jack under the gun to 1200. I have like 30.
What are the blinds? 3-6?
No, they were 255.
Okay.
So I got like 30K. I open under the gun, 8-handed with ace jack off. The small and big blind both call. And then it comes jack 5-4, 2 hearts.
Okay.
Check. She leads for 2,500 and she has 15,000 total.
Okay.
And I make it 6,000. Small blind goes all in for 9K. And then she tanks forever and calls. Yeah, I can't raise, so I call.
Yeah.
And then the turn is like just a brick 6. There were 2 hearts on the flop. And she checks, I shove, she folds for like 4,000 more.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So she folded
Tournament
king.
life.
She folded king jack.
It's a good fold?
Yeah, it was a good fold. The guy had queens somehow. So Barry Greenstein right on the river. See you later, buddy.
Oh, man. Very nice.
So
Very nice.
that gets me to like
It's a good book. Ace on the River.
Oh, fantastic book. So I get to 55 like that, and then I move to a new table, and dude opens to 4-8. Yeah, he makes it 2,000.
Okay.
Under the gun 1. He's got all the green, black, and $500 chips on the table, so I know he's a little active. He's got like 90,000.
Yeah.
He makes it 2,000. I call out of the big blind with king 7 off. The flop comes king 5-6 with 1 spade, and I check. He bet big. He bet 3,500 into like 5K total. So I call. And no, he bet 3,000. I call. The turn is the queen of spades, bringing backdoor spades, and I have the king of spades, which I think is really important here on the river. But I check. He bets 8K.
Not a big bet.
Yeah, I double check my cards just because, just cause.
Yeah. You want to make sure.
Yeah. I was actually kind of hoping that a spade didn't come on the river because I knew I had the king of spades and my 7 was red. So like, I know I'm not suited.
Right.
But I wanted to see if I had the king of spades or just like to check back in my cards just to essentially give him the idea that I have a spade draw.
Right.
Because I don't want a spade to come on the river, which it won't be most of the time.
Right.
And when it doesn't come, I want him to bluff me.
Right.
So a spade does come on the river. and it's the 8 of spades. I check, and he bets 17,000 into 27K. So like, it's a big bet. If I call and lose, I'm down to 30,000 or so.
Yeah.
I tank for a while. I ask him some questions, pick up a little tell on him, and then pause for like 15 more seconds because, you know, I'm not out here just giving them away. I call, he tells me he has a little pair and he won't flip his hand over, so I just show him the king and, you know, send it. So I got 110,000.
Very nice.
Yeah, 110,000 going back
The
to...
beauty of live poker.
Oh,
The
man.
beauty of live poker.
But yeah, I mean, have like 110 going back to 501K and
Perfect. You're in a good
Yeah.
spot.
it's above average.
All right.
All right,
Sounds great. Just win it.
back to back.
You know, today, I just woke up and I said, no, instead of waiting on a good day, waiting around through ups and downs, waiting on something to happen, I just said,
We're gonna have a good day, and all my homies gonna ride today.
that's right.
And all these mommies look fly today, and all we wanna do is get by today. Hey, we're gonna have a good day, and ain't nobody gotta cry today. 'Cause ain't nobody gonna die today. Save that trouble for another day. Hey, we're gonna have a
What the heck just happened? What the heck just happened? Bert got recognized. The guy offered him free alcohol. He obviously said no, and then offered him milkshake galore, and he said no. Wow, I mean, that was hard for me to sit through. That was, honestly, though,
I'm big in Australia. What can I say?
everyone recognized him. They're taking selfies, but it finally paid off for me to be friends with him for 8 years. I got free dessert.
Free dessert.
All right, as you can see, I clearly didn't win the MSPT last week. I was unable to defend the title. I busted 3 bullets in that one, and that was it. But it's all right. I am playing the $1 Million Guarantee that they have at the Venetian next week. That is going to be rapidly followed by a lot of other things. We're doing the Heads Up Challenge in March. We're doing another academy in March. We're doing another academy in April. And then we'll be doing an MTT academy in May and launching the subscription site on May 1st. So whenever I'm not playing, I will be here building whatever I can for the subscription site and just getting ready for that launch and getting ready for the academies.
How could it all fall in one day? Were we too sure of the sun? If you need to keep time on me, if you need to keep time on me. Who knows what state is in store? If they all turn, will you run? If you need to keep time on me, if you need to keep time on me, when I need to, I'll keep time.
Why?
Why what?
Why do you gotta film me putting 10 slabs of butter on my rice?
Well, you only have 9 because you dropped one.
I did drop one. Food's not great here.
That's the one downfall, I would say.
I think that's why I don't like,
The food would have been good if you would have caught a fish on the boat today.
yeah, obviously. I think that's why I don't like resorts, because like you can't fend for yourself. I can't just go to the store and get like eggs.
Yeah, you never fucking cook. You did.
Now I mean cold rice with cold butter. It's not gonna. Do we have a microwave?
Yes, sir.
I'm just gonna have to eat these by the chunk.
So we're wrapping up the trip. This is the end of Down Under for me. I did Melbourne, New Zealand, Sydney, and then we wrapped here in Fiji. And I gotta say, every place got progressively better than the last. So that's it. Heading back to the States, we got a lot in store. It's gonna be really, really hectic after 3 weeks of vacationing. We come right back to an academy. And then we have the Heads Up Challenge making a return this year. It's gonna be March 10th to 12th. We're gonna be twitching the whole thing live. I'm really trying to make this a big deal and an annual thing moving forward. So hopefully that'll be the next big thing on our horizons. Bula!
I recently just played a session of Poker After Dark, and we're going to try something a little bit different for this vlog. Software is coming out with a podcast soon. Christian's going to be the host. And in one of the recordings that we were doing, he was interviewing Jordan. So we thought it may be a little bit better if the two of them broke down one of my more controversial hands from this last session of Poker After Dark. Here's their analysis.
All right, so the hand goes is 200-400 with a $500 ante. JRB opens under the gun to 1,500. Stanley Choi 3-bets to 5,500 from the cutoff. Berkey calls the button with Jack 10 of clubs with an effective stack of 87k. The two opponents cover. JRB calls. So we're going 3-way to the flop. Flop comes Ace of Spade, Jack of Hearts, 9 of clubs. So Berkey flops middle pair and backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw. JRB checks. Stanley Choi bets 7,000, which is, a little bit less than half pot. Berkey calls. JRB calls as well. Turn is the 10 of hearts. JRB checks. Stanley bets 15k. Berkey shoves for 80k total. JRB folds. Stanley Choi calls with Ace Jack of diamonds. So what are your thoughts on the overcall pre-flop? Because I think that's a discussion point. The flop call is also a discussion point, and then, of course, the turn shove is highly debatable.
Yeah, I think the turn shove is the only part of the hand that's really debatable, because pre-flop, if you're going to want to be able to call with jacks and tens and nines and hands like ace queen, it's kind of like, you can flat jack 10 here. You're going to want to balance that with a little bit of, premiums as well. And you don't really want to 4-bet and get pushed off of a hand like ace king either. So you can work that into a flatting range. Because of that, you can flat jack 10 as well.
Well, are you ever concerned about JRB 4-betting at a decent frequency there, given all the dead money? Are you concerned about being dominated? Are you concerned about playability in a 3-bet pot, multi-way, with a hand not that strong? I guess, I think it's how are we going to win the hand?
I think it's the perfect hand to have. He's under the gun.
Mm-hmm.
And since you cold flat his under the gun open, Stanley's 3-bet, and then you're cold flatting, it's those ranges are already what they are. So for you to be able to just cold flat, you have to have a respectably strong range. And they have to take that into account. So okay. I just wouldn't be expected to get 4-bet very often. And when he does, you can just let it go.
Okay. So on flop, when Stanley Choi bets, his 3-bet range should contain a lot of aces. In a 3-way 3-bet pot, I feel like the presence of an ace is pretty high. So is there an argument, do you think, for even folding flop?
Yeah, I think that it's definitely a possibility that Stanley has a strong ace. There are some reasons that I don't think JRB has all that strong of an ace. If he has ace queen or ace king, he probably 4-bets pre. It's very unlikely he has ace jack, because a jack's out there, you have one in your hand. And if he has kings or queens, also 4-bets pre. I think JRB has to play honest on the flop because his range is what it is, and Stanley has to play honest on the turn.
Okay.
Which will lead us to the next part of this discussion, I assume.
Stanley now bets 15K, and Berkey now shoves for 80K, which was the entire debate on Twitter. The majority of the community thinks that he should be just calling. This now becomes like one of his bluff catchers. It's kind of like a value call where like when his opponent makes a mistake with ace king, ace queen, he should just call. If he shoves, it's unlikely he gets called by worse, etc. Not the top of our range, obviously not the bottom. We're squarely in the middle. We should just like theoretically just be calling. But Berkey shoves and catches a lot of heat for it. What are your thoughts on that shove?
I think it's debatable.
Okay.
I think with Stanley betting into two people, his range is super strong, in my opinion. He doesn't bet ace queen and ace king here, I don't think. Well, I can't say he doesn't. Those are his two candidates to bet, and he doesn't have many candidates to bet that beat us. He's got ace jack and he's got top set. I think it's close. Like, it's so much closer than people think. And I'm not in the game. I don't know the dynamic. I don't have the same assumptions that he does, and it's just so easy to fucking play like Monday morning quarterback from the sidelines.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's an interesting hand, and I think that if the assumptions are that we're playing a businessman that is not that experienced, it's overvaluing hands that make big call-offs, and I think we saw that in a hand that he played against Garrett Adelstein earlier in a three-way 3-bet pot where he had one pair, and Garrett Adelstein had a set and shoved in a spot where Garrett would never be bluffing, and Choi still called. And with that history, I think Berkey has a little bit more of an argument for shoving turn.
Well, I just want to add that I think that, like I've said earlier in this hand, in a multi-way pot, you're going to get played against honestly. So the river is going to be played honestly. And that's like one of the biggest arguments I would have for just calling. And my biggest argument for shoving would be I'm unsure of the environment to the extent that I can't put a precise finger on how loose this guy's betting turns, how much he's overvaluing hands. And I think that's the big picture here. It's like when you're not in the game and the cards are on their backs, like it's so easy to just criticize and critique, but every environment's different and everyone's going to have a different pulse on the game that they're in, which is why hand histories are very valuable when you're looking for a greater concept, because everyone's assumptions are going to be different.
Right.